This episode of FAQ Monday is sponsored by ML Sound Lab. Well, hello, and welcome to another FAQ Monday. I'm your host, Fluff, and I have my cold brew. May or may not be my second or third one, and I'm feeling it today. Feel good. And I also keep seeing comments about, why are you wearing a beanie? It's summer. Why'd you wear beanies? Stupid. That's not what it's called. Why? Because I fucking want to. That's why I wear it. First question. Do you normally have a lot of setup when making your videos? I.e. lights, reflectors, mics, etc.? Not so much anymore. I mean, I do have, a couple of lights, and I have hue lights in the room as it is on purpose so I can control everything with my phone. Everything nowadays is pretty streamlined. I have a microphone here. I have, as a backup, I have a shotgun mic attached directly to the camera. And generally speaking, I am pretty streamlined to be the most effective I can be now. That wasn't the case for many, many years. It used to be a huge endeavor to shoot any gear videos, and that's why it would take me so long. That's why it takes most people so long, is because they're not in a space that they can just kind of leave set up or even halfway set up. When I moved and bought this house a year and a half ago, I intentionally made the desk, accessible here. Now, acoustically, this desk could be in a slightly different place, but I'm not just set up to mix audio. I have to consider video shooting. So, I've tailored this room to be basically a video shooting beast. And so I just have a couple of lights, LED lights. The microphone is always set up on an arm. I have a blue Spark SL, and I'm good to go pretty much at all times. It takes me about 15 minutes to set up for any particular video. Click track for playing live? Yes, always. And even if you can't have an entire in-ear setup for your band, you don't have to. Honestly, for a long time, Rest Repose, Jared would just have a click in his ears. He would have a track. There's a phone app. There's several phone apps that you can get that are just a metronome app, and you can program different BPMs and basically make a set list out of the different BPMs for the click. And he would just go on down the list as the set went along. And because he was playing to a click, the band would play then to him, and he was tighter. I consider that to kind of be a first step in tightness. The second step being, if the entire band can hear the click, then you're really cooking with fire, as the kids say. That's what Dragged Under does now. All of us have a click in our ears, and it's basically it sits on top of everything else. And yeah, that way you play super tight, and if one guy gets off, it doesn't throw off anybody else. Whereas if you only have your drummer playing to a click, if someone gets off or someone drifts or something like that, it can kind of have a domino effect. Not always, but it's definitely a great first step. I highly recommend every band playing along to some sort of click, or one member at least playing along to a click track. It just improves the live performance so much, and it's definitely worth the investment in like some isolated earbuds or something like that. Any thoughts on the Tom DeLonge Stratocaster? I remember at the time, back in the day, it was like late 90s or something like that. So Tom always kind of played a Strat since the early days of Blink, but then he had then he got hooked up with Fender, and he went from that stickered Strat that he had forever to his single Duncan Invader single humbucker, one volume knob Strat, and all of us guitarists were like, oh man, that's brilliant. And that wasn't something you really generally saw, like something that customized in that genre especially. Man, I would love to own one. I know they made two versions, if I remember correctly. They had the import version, which is the most common that you see. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I believe there was a USA version of Tom's signature Strat. I believe it was maybe a custom shop or something like that. I do remember seeing them available to order perhaps. It was like $2,500 at that time. But you don't ever see the USA made ones, ever. You generally see the import ones. My brother has one, in fact. I would like to own one. I'm curious if the under the pick guard, if it's the pickup cavity is completely routed out or hollowed out or something. I would love to actually build one. A single pickup guitar is just so utilitarian and simple and stripped down. I'm a huge Tom DeLonge fan, and I loved his guitar tone. I love the fact that he used rectifiers back in the day, mixed with Marshalls, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his playing, songwriting, and you know, he likes UFOs too. ML Sound Lab makes some of the best speaker impulse response packs for guitar and bass that you have ever heard. And as a longtime user, both in the studio and live, I can absolutely vouch for that statement. They are some of my favorite IR packs, with packs based on vintage Marshall cabs, Zilla cabs, Bogner cabs, Mesa Boogie cabs, and even a bunch of different bass cabs. They have something for everyone, and something in particular that I really enjoy about the ML Sound Lab stuff is they are phase correct with the various types of modelers, meaning you can blend them with the factory cabs to make your own unique sounds. And that is something that I haven't really seen before in any other IR packs. When you get them, you open them up, there's various sample rates, there's impulses dialed in for specific processors, Kemper, Fractal, and Helix. And if you would like to purchase your own speaker impulse response pack from ML Sound Lab, there is a discount code down in the description. Go and click it and create your own sounds right now with ML Sound Lab. Ever jam out on the band Hum from the 90s? Yes, in fact, I was a huge Hum fan back in the 90s. For those of you who have never heard of Hum, you might have heard they had one huge single called Stars, and Hum was kind of a weird mixture of like shoegazy stuff with like some really heavy riffs. And I remember seeing the video on 120 Minutes, which is an MTV show back in the day, that for 2 hours, really late at night, they would play the most awesome underground alternative stuff. That's where you'd see like Helmet videos and White Zombie videos and things like that. I was a huge Hum fan. I have You'd Prefer an Astronaut, the first album or the second album, on vinyl, and then they followed up that with Downward is Heavenward, which was an awesome album, but then they got dropped by the record label. They were around until like the late 90s, and I believe they started playing again in the last few years. They play some shows here and there. Their singer and guitar player is a college professor or something like that. He was a really smart dude. But anyway, if you haven't heard of Hum, definitely at least check out Stars. That bridge riff is so heavy and so awesome, so 90s. It's super awesome. But yes, thank you for asking. I am a huge Hum fan. One piece of gear you regret getting rid of? You know, it's not often that I really regret getting rid of anything. I get rid of a lot of stuff. And like, I also give like a lot of stuff to my friends, pedals, guitars, and stuff like that, or my brother. I've given him some things over the years, and I generally don't really regret getting rid of stuff because it's always for a reason. However, I do regret getting rid of my Peavey 5152 amplifier, and this must have been back in, I think it was 2007, I believe. I hate saying this. I traded it to a guy for a JCM 900, and I was listening to a lot of Alkaline Trio at the time, and I had this crazy amazing metal amp, and it was just, I was not feeling the metals at that time, and I was playing a lot of Alkaline Trio rock, Social Distortion kind of stuff, real open chordy, Les Paul stuff, right? I traded it for a JCM 900 2500 amp. And I believe I gave him like another $300 on top of that. And the Marshall was mint. It sounded terrible, but it sounded good for like what that 900 is. I was horrified, but I instantly regretted getting rid of the Peavey 5152. And I've never owned another 5152. I've owned 5150s, I've owned 6505 pluses, I have an EVH 50 watt. None of them are like that 5152 that I had back then, and I would love to get another one and find a deal on one. It's just one of those amps that I've always thought in the back of my mind, like, I liked how that amp sounded. That amp was really, that was such a beautiful, heavy toned amp That's the one I really regret. Ever thought about fixing up the GNL Rampage? I actually haven't had the GNL Rampage for quite a while. I'm a huge Jerry Cantrell fan, but the story behind that guitar is kind of weird. I got a really good deal on it at the time. This is about, what, 2012, I believe it was? I was super stoked on it, but what I did not know, I basically bought a B stock guitar. And what a B stock guitar is one that the factory deems not fit for retail. It's messed up. It's wrong from the factory, and they know it, and they don't want to throw it away. So they sell them at a discount to B-level retailers. Some stores, some smaller mom and pop stores will have clearance racks or B-level stock or open box stuff that they usually will generally sell on eBay. I got this one off of Reverb, and I knew it was a B guitar. They didn't try to conceal that, but they are not told what the exact problem is and why it was deemed a B guitar. Now, this could be for several reasons. Could be a paint chip, could be the neck is warped, it could be literally anything. And on that particular guitar, there was a paint chip on the lower horn on the back. And they told me they were pretty sure that was the reason it was a B stock guitar. So I got it new for $300. It's an import GNL Rampage. What it actually was, I found out later, was they didn't plane the fretboard correctly. So when they went to put in the frets, there was a hump in the frets, a very, very bad one. So the 12th fret, so the bottom of the neck, basically nothing was playable past the 12th fret. Like, it was really bad, but it was set up so the action was super high, so you wouldn't necessarily know that. I had it set up by my tech Mark, and he was like, man, this thing is messed up. I had to get the fret levels, or the frets leveled, planed. I had to have a bunch of work done to it for several $100s. And in the end, it really tainted me, and I hated the guitar. It sounded like garbage. And no matter what I did to it, it was so piercingly bright. No pickup. No, I changed out the guts, the pots, everything. Nothing changed the fact that it was so piercingly bright and terrible sounding. I ended up giving it away to a friend. I was just like, hey, you want that? He was like, oh man, this is a sick guitar. I was like, you can have it. That's yours now. And I think he still has it. So yeah, I don't like that guitar. Also, the fretboard is really, really flat. Like, the radius of that neck is like 25 inches. It's basically completely flat, and it was very, very uncomfortable. So yeah, I don't have that guitar, so I cannot fix it up. I'm sorry. And now Fluff reads a tweet. Literally no one. Electroharmonics. Here's a pedal that makes your guitar sound like that sound when wet clothes hit the bathroom floor. Right? My suggestion to you this week is to check out the new single and music video from my homies Into the Flood, The Art of Burning a Bridge. This is a great song, it's a little shreddy, and the riffs are titanic, and the video is stellar as well. If you guys like heavy music, definitely check this out. You will enjoy it, I promise. All the pickable links down below in the description. You've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.